Not every great game gets the recognition it deserves. Some slip through the cracks, overshadowed by bigger titles, or just never getting the attention they should have. In today's video, we're shining a light on some of those hidden single-player gems that are criminally underrated. These are the kinds of games that might have flown under your radar, but are absolutely worth your time. Then without wasting more time, let's get into the video. When you think of classic third-person shooters, games like Gears of War or Uncharted might immediately come to mind. However, there's a lesser-known title, Binary Domain, that often gets overlooked but offers a unique and exciting experience. Binary Domain takes place in the year 2080, in a world ravaged by global warming. Robots have taken over many human jobs as the human population has dwindled due to environmental disasters. Set in Tokyo, the game starts with an elite commando team infiltrating the Japanese coast. The country has isolated itself from the rest of the world, and your mission is to investigate whether a scientist has violated a global treaty by creating robots that can pass as human after one such robot attacks a major robotics company. As a fan of shooters, I've played my fair share of games in this genre, but Binary Domain stands out. Each squad member has a distinct personality, appearance, and combat style. Your interactions with them during the game will affect the level of trust they have in you and impact the story's progression. This dynamic system adds depth to the experience and makes you feel more immersed in the game. The game's story, while not perfect, is memorable, especially for those who have longed for a good Terminator-like experience in a video game. If you're a fan of science fiction and robots, this one will certainly resonate with you. CyberConnect 2, known for creating high-production video game adaptations of popular anime series, shifts its focus to its own original creation with Asura's Wrath. Asura's Wrath begins in the vastness of space, where 8 Guardian generals wage war against the Goma, who is a destructive force beneath the planet's surface. Asura, who is one of the 8 generals, defeats the Doma with help from his daughter Mithra. However, their victory is short-lived. Asura is betrayed by his fellow generals, framed for the Emperor's death. His daughter is kidnapped, and the generals rename themselves the 7 deities. Thousands of years later, Asura, still alive, is determined to take revenge on those who wronged him. Asura's Wrath follows a TV-style format with 3 main story arcs spread across 18 episodes. The game heavily relies on quick-time events, where the player must press buttons at the right time to progress the story. These events blend seamlessly with cinematic scenes, making the game feel more like an interactive movie than a traditional video game. Asura's Wrath came out back in 2012, but it was definitely a game that was ahead of its time. The combination of action and drama, along with the innovative gameplay mechanics, made it a game that was unlike anything else out there. Unfortunately, that also meant that it didn't quite fit into any one genre, which might have contributed to it not being as popular as it deserved to be. Every generation in gaming brings forward hidden gems that, unfortunately, don't receive the recognition they truly deserve. One such gem, in my opinion, is Gravity Rush 2, a remarkable game developed by Sony PlayStation. Despite being from one of the biggest names in gaming, Gravity Rush 2 remains a lesser-known title that deserves far more attention. In Gravity Rush 2, you play as a gravity-shifting heroine named Kat, who embarks on an adventure to bring peace to troubled areas. The game features 27 story missions, each more exciting than the last. The gameplay revolves around gravity shifting, which may take a little getting used to, but once you do, it's a joy to explore the game's vast and beautifully crafted world. While the game is enjoyable throughout, there are moments in Gravity Rush 2 that are truly memorable. The narrative flows well, and even during slower chapters, the game keeps you engaged with its rich lore and fascinating characters. Even after the credits roll, there's still plenty more to uncover, and the later chapters provide exciting twists that make the game even more rewarding. Despite its brilliance, Gravity Rush 2 has struggled to gain the attention it deserves. Sony didn't push the game as much as it could have, and the fact that it was initially available on the PlayStation Vita, a console that never gained widespread support, like we didn't help its visibility. It's a real shame because Gravity Rush 2 offers an experience that should have been celebrated far more. Released in 2021, this 2D action RPG has flown under the radar for many gamers, despite being an excellent example of what makes indie games special. Ender Lilies follows the youngest white priestess named Lily, who must journey through a kingdom plagued by a corrupting force called the Blight. This evil force turns the kingdom's residents into immortal, soulless creatures. As Lily makes her way to purify the land, she is joined by the spirit of a knight who becomes her primary source of offense against the many enemies she encounters. The story is largely uncovered through brief cutscenes and by collecting notes and items scattered throughout the game world. As for gameplay, the controls are simple and will feel familiar to fans of Metroidvania-style games with basic actions like jumping, attacking, and moving. There are additional mechanics such as dodging and switching loadouts. At its core, Ender Lilies Quietus of the Knights is a beautifully somber and challenging action-adventure game. I believe it's more accessible to new players than titles like Hollow Knight, making it a great entry point into the Metroidvania genre. However, even experienced gamers will find plenty to enjoy. If you love games that take you on an emotional journey through a beautifully tragic world, Ender Lilies Quietus of the Knights is a must-play. Bully, developed by Rockstar Games, is a unique open-world game that takes players into the heart of Bulworth Academy. The game follows a troublemaking student named Jimmy Hopkins, who has been expelled from multiple schools, only to be sent to the notorious Bulworth Academy, which is a boarding school known for its tough, no-nonsense attitude. One of Jimmy's goals is to earn respect, starting by knocking out the kingpin of the school. However, in a surprising twist, Jimmy's first attempt at a fight ends in failure after he's caught by a prefect for breaking the rules. Bully's humor, satire, and exaggerated schoolyard antics have made it a classic. While the game's themes of bullying and mischief may seem controversial, it remains a lighthearted take on growing up in a chaotic environment. With a mix of fighting, pranks, and schoolyard drama, it offers a unique experience compared to other Rockstar titles. If Bully were released today, it's likely that the sensitive cultural climate would make it difficult for a game like this to be created in the same manner. However, the nostalgia of revisiting the quirky, violent world of Bulworth Academy still provides entertainment even after all these years. If you're familiar with Remedy's previous titles like Quantum Break, Alan Wake, and the original Max Payne, you'll notice many similarities in Control. The narrative of Control is complex and layered, drawing inspiration from supernatural thrillers like Twin Peaks and The X-Files. The game is a third-person action-adventure game with a heavy focus on supernatural elements and mind-bending storytelling. You play as Jessie Faden, who is a woman searching for her missing brother. Her journey leads her to the Federal Bureau of Control, which is a secret government agency that investigates paranormal phenomena. Control boasts a range of innovative gameplay mechanics that set it apart from other single-player games. The game's core mechanic, known as the service weapon, allows Jessie to manipulate objects and environments in creative ways, such as launching debris at enemies or creating shields to block attacks. The enemies you face, called the Hiss, provide plenty of variety. You'll encounter basic enemies, shielded soldiers, and bosses that require a strategic approach. The more challenging enemies have a health bar with numerical values, which means you'll need to level up Jessie's abilities to stand a chance. With its thought-provoking storyline and innovative gameplay mechanics, Control is a game that deserves to be played by anyone who loves action-adventure games, sci-fi, or just great storytelling in general. The Order 1886 came out in 2015 and was made by Ready at Dawn exclusively for PlayStation 4. At first glance, it looks like a typical action-packed shooter, but there's much more to it than meets the eye. The game is set in an alternate version of Victorian London where you play as Sir Galahad, who was a member of a secret group known as the Order. This order is tasked with protecting the city from supernatural creatures like werewolves and other dark forces. The combat is satisfying, but it's also designed to support the story rather than being the main focus. The game uses scripted sequences and set pieces to keep the action exciting and immersive. While it may not have the same depth as some other shooters, it serves the story well and keeps things engaging throughout. Unfortunately, its short length and some mixed reviews led many to overlook this game. But if you gave it a chance, you'd find it's a deeply atmospheric, well-crafted experience that is criminally underrated. The game also suffered from being a PlayStation exclusive, which limited its exposure compared to multi-platform titles. Despite these hurdles, The Order 1886 has built a cult following over the years, with many players praising its art direction and storytelling. Released in 2018 by Download Entertainment, the same team behind Life is Strange, this action role-playing game blends a rich narrative with deep gameplay mechanics. It's a game that doesn't get as much attention as it deserves, but once you dive into it, you'll see why it stands out. In Vampyr, you play as Jonathan Reed, who is a newly turned vampire and former doctor. Jonathan's transformation grants him access to a variety of shadow powers and abilities that are crucial for navigating the game's world and solving the mysteries surrounding a deadly epidemic. These powers are not only essential for exploration, but also play a significant role in combat. You must use them wisely as you uncover the truth behind the disease and your own transformation. The combat in Vampyr draws comparisons to games like Dark Souls. Players must manage their stamina, execute strategic dodges, and utilize both melee and ranged abilities to defeat enemies. However, combat is only part of the experience. Much of the gameplay revolves around the choices you make in dialogue and interactions. You can choose to charm or manipulate people, which becomes crucial as you navigate the complex web of relationships in the game. At times, the moral decisions can feel overwhelming, especially when it comes to deciding whether to feed on innocent people or leave them be. The game's slower pacing and focus on dialogue-heavy storytelling may not appeal to everyone. However, for those who appreciate rich world-building, moral complexity, and a fresh take on vampire mythology, Vampyr is a must-play. When people think of Mad Max, they usually remember the legendary movie series starring Mel Gibson and later Tom Hardy. But what many gamers don't realize is that Mad Max 2015 is also an incredible open-world game that deserves way more attention than it got. The game emphasizes vehicular combat, with nearly 60% of the gameplay focused on driving. However, it is important to note that the game is not a direct adaptation of the 2015 film, but rather an original story set within the Mad Max world. The combat system in Mad Max is heavily influenced by the Batman Arkham series, offering a smooth and satisfying melee combat experience. Players can engage in hand-to-hand combat, perform counters, and use weapons strategically. The fighting mechanics feel intuitive and rewarding once mastered. Driving plays a significant role in the game, featuring realistic car handling and intense vehicular combat. Players could upgrade their cars with armor, weapons, and improved engines. The game allows players to slam into enemy vehicles, use harpoons, and fire weapons to defeat opponents on the road. Mad Max is an excellent game that was unfortunately overshadowed by bigger releases. Avalanche Studios successfully created a thrilling and immersive post-apocalyptic experience that remains enjoyable years after its release. If you haven't played Mad Max yet, it is definitely worth trying. Released in 2012 by United Front Games and published by Square Enix, Sleeping Dogs remains one of those titles that, despite its significant fanbase, never achieved the commercial success it truly deserved. At the time of its release, the game faced tough competition, notably from Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto series. While both games feature open-world action and criminal storylines, Sleeping Dogs distinguished itself with a unique setting and a more personal, nuanced narrative. It didn't quite capture the same widespread attention as Grand Theft Auto, but for those who played it, the experience was unforgettable. The gameplay in Sleeping Dogs is another standout feature. The fluid combat system combines martial arts, gunplay, and driving mechanics to create a diverse and enjoyable experience. Wei Shen, the protagonist, possesses a range of abilities that make him feel like a true action hero. In addition to combat, the game offers parkour-style movement, allowing Wei to run, climb, and leap through the environment with ease. This dynamic movement system makes navigating the city feel exciting and gives players the freedom to explore in creative ways. Given the game's strong foundation, it's baffling that Sleeping Dogs never received a sequel. The potential for further stories in this vibrant world, combined with the excellent combat and gameplay mechanics, seem to promise a series that could have rivaled the best in the genre. Instead, the game remains a standalone title, leaving fans to wonder what could have been. Alright, those are some of the most underrated single-player games you need to check out. I hope I've introduced you to a few new titles that'll make you rethink what you've been playing. If you've played any of these, or if you've got other hidden gems to recommend, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.